This chalk pastel tutorial will show you how to blend gradients of color to create a lava lamp inspired artwork. It's perfect for beginners or if you're new to blending. If you love learning about art, hit that subscribe button so you never miss a weekly tutorial. You will need a set of chalk pastels and a dark piece of paper, preferably black or dark blue if you have it. I'm going to start by drawing organic shapes to represent the glowing globs of my lava lamp, curved lines and edges, and some of them go off the page. Also, experiment with a variety of different sizes and don't make two shapes exactly the same. You could look at images of lava lamps and have them more spherical or round, or you could make it look kind of like spilled areas of color or paint. Before starting on your final paper, you will want to practice gradients. Gradients are sets of colors that work together that go from dark to light. For example, you can see my red, orange, yellow, white blend, and then I screenshot my blues that are going from dark to light. This will help you understand which colors you like and how to control your smooth blending. I'm going to start with my blues, and I'm going to use this darkest blue to go around the outer edges. To make it look more three-dimensional, I'm going to do darkest on the outside and go into my lightest value, which will always be white. Depending on how many pastels you have and which set you have, and what your color preferences are, you can start with any color combination that you would like. I do advise to have at least 3 colors. Adding white as a fourth, even just doing 2 colors in white like black, gray, and white would work, but the more color you use, the more three-dimensional your gradient and your shading will look. My second color is this medium blue, and I'm overlapping into that dark blue with the chalk pastel. You could totally do this with oil pastels too, and colored pencils. The blending would just look a little bit different. Then go back to your base color and map that back in too, and I'm using my finger to smudge and blend together. If you're doing oil pastels, I recommend not using your finger, but just using the pastel itself, and the same advice goes along with colored pencils. Because I'm using chalk pastels, it's super soft, super easy to blend. You can see this lighter blue really pops against the dark, and I'm going to add that, and then with a different finger, I'm going to blend that all together. One thing to remember is you're not removing the pigment or removing the color of your pastel. So if you overblend it, you remove it from the paper and the oils of your finger will mess it up. So you want to blend lightly, and you can also use a Q-tip if you don't want to get your fingers dirty. It already looks pretty 3D, and I haven't even added white yet. Keep in mind every shape will be different, and as long as you follow the lines that you drew, going from dark on the outside, going into light, adding white as a highlight, it will look three-dimensional. Now that I have my gradient of blues, I'm going to go back in with white and add white to the very center to make it look really three-dimensional and give it that highlight. I'll blend it out a little bit with the light blue. I can also blend it out with my finger or a Q-tip. And I can go back and add a layer of white anytime I really want to pop that highlight and make it look 3D. I'm going to mix it up and try a different set of colors for my next gradient. I'm going to do purple, light pink, and then fade all the way to white. So you can repeat this and make it look like a lava lamp with just one color scheme, but I'm going to kind of mix things up and make it multi-dimensional and multicolored. So this is a repetition of everything you've seen me do before. I'm starting on the outer edges with my darker color, which for me is purple. Then I will blend a lighter pink and kind of go from there. Again, you can blend with your finger, you can blend with a Q-tip. It depends on what you have and how messy you're willing to get. You can see the pink and the purple are just kind of sitting next to each other. I'm going into the purple a little bit, and then it's up to me with a clean hand, because last time I blended, I had blue all over my fingers, so let's kind of wipe that down. And if you have a baby wipe, that's a great tool to have next to you as you're working, because you can continuously clean your hand as you go. And I'm just going to take my clean finger and kind of blend that purple to the pink to give it a nice seamless kind of bulbous quality to it. So then I'm going to take my pink again, because I feel like the purple kind of dominated a little bit, filling it in with this kind of lighter peach color, filling that in almost all the way. And you can control which colors you want to be more dominant. Maybe you want this to be more purple and you use more of that. Maybe you want it more pink. It depends on what your goals are. I always end with white, and it doesn't show up as much as it did with the blue. And you can see each shape is going to be a little different. So I put kind of like a circle at each end and then a line going through. I'm going to blend that out with my finger, but I know I'm going to go back and add that white as a final step to make sure I really have the highlight. Okay, I'm going to speed things up double time because I am simply repeating the same color gradient you saw before. And remember, each shape is going to be different depending on how you drew it. Which organic shape you drew is going to depend how you use your colors and how you blend them together. Darkest on the outside and then fading into light will give it that 3D effect, no matter what set of color gradients you're using. Which colors you use is completely up to you. If you want to create kind of like a lava lamp with all the same colors, go for that. If you want to try every color that you have, go for that too. It really just depends what the overall vibe or overall final look will be. So you can see I'm repeating this purple gradient 3 times so far, and I'm trying to kind of mix up where they are. It's okay for it to be right next to each other, but I'm also wanting to kind of like do blue again, and then I'm going to repeat another color. So again, this is twice the speed. You watched me do it before, and I'm just going to repeat that blue gradient that I really liked. So I'm going to start with the dark blue, then I add and blend the medium blue to that. Then I'm going to final color will be the lightest blue, and always end with white. So you can see the shape's going to be different each time. Blending with my finger, and you find the technique that works for you. Just remember, whatever you're using for blending, make sure it's clean, especially if you're using multiple colors. You could even have one finger per value, like this is my light finger, this is my dark finger, whatever works for you. Just keep in mind pastels create a rainbow beautiful mess, but you don't want it to be too smudgy or lose those nice colors that you're creating. So I'm going to do a final color gradient here, and it's one of my favorites, and it's a warm color scheme where I will be fading red as my darkest, then I'm going to fade in orange, and then finally, you probably guessed it, I will fill it in with yellow and then finally white. This is a really fun color combo, and when I started this, I thought I would just do cool colors and focus on my blues and purples, but I couldn't resist that red kept screaming at me to be used, and so I went ahead and added it. I do love how that yellow and white interact. So I'm going to repeat this color scheme a couple times just to fill my space and really kind of ask myself, where does it need a pop of red? Totally right here, so that it has balance of colors. So whatever colors you choose to use, just make sure they interact in an interesting way and maybe kind of mix and match a little bit. I'm going to wrap up this final gradient, and then I'm going to move on to the background. So yes, I am using a black paper for my background, and you might be using blue or a different color. But even though the background has color to it, I still like to add a little dimension. And you can see I'm adding black around the edges of each shape. And you can see how much darker it looks using a black pastel. There's nothing wrong with a little paper showing, but I don't want to just leave it completely blank. So I'm going to do a little bit of blending of black with a light gray. So that's just giving the background a little dimension and not neglecting it. In a work of art, the background is just as important as the subject matter. So that's negative space, or the area that isn't the subject. So the subject of this work of art are the blobs, the blobby shapes in my lava lamp. And the background is just as important, and so although I want it dark and I want it black, I'm going to take the opportunity of using black to clean up the edges and to use gray to blend with my finger to create a little bit more dimension. Whatever liquid is in here, in my fake lava lamp, I want it to look like it's kind of moving and it has light shining and hitting it in areas of light and dark. And although my background is black, I don't have to stick with that. I could definitely do like a yellow-green fade in the liquid in the background of my lava lamp. There's so many directions that you can go. I do like using the black to clean up those edges that I did with my blending because pastels are really smushy and sometimes it's hard to get a clean edge. I do think that's a really good final last step. And again, I am speeding this up. This is about twice the speed I actually did. So if it looks like I'm moving really fast, yes, I did speed it up just because you don't need to watch me do the whole thing in real time. One final step is after I'm happy with my edges and my background, I'm going to go back with very clean hands and I'm going to do a second layer of white. I want that highlight to really pop, and so doing a second layer, and you could even spray this with a fixative or hairspray to set your color and then do white or black to kind of push your contrast. I haven't sprayed this yet, but you can see how much more intense the white is going over it a second time. After washing my hands again, I'm going to do one final round with the black just to make sure that my smudges aren't too smudgy and then I have nice crisp edges into the black of my background. So I'm not necessarily outlining, I'm just kind of touching up that darkest area. I feel like I am pretty much finished. I really like this blending exercise. I think it's really great to understand how to blend. I really like that the organic shapes of the lava lamp can be anything that I want them to be, and it allows for freedom of color scheme while trying to understand how to use value in color, which can be tricky if you're doing a more realistic subject. Well, this one is done. Thank you so much for sticking around and making art with me, and if you're interested in more tutorials, check these out. Also, find me on Instagram at thatartteacher_Machado to see what my students are up to in my classroom, and find my website, thatartteacher.com, for full-length lesson plans and student examples.